psalmist, David. So when you understand that once you start, you see yourself sitting in the God seat in triple darkness in the middle of nowhere, and you recognize and observe that position. You sitting in the center of creation. That's the mindset. You sitting in the center of creation and you creating everything. Okay, now you simplify the totality of creation. You got to bring it into your 3D model of yourself. I'm God pretending to be Rod. How am I supposed to behave as God in this 3D realm? This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to rewrite who the system told me to be. I'm not going to be Rod. I'm going to be Morpheus Mysticus Magus. Morpheus Mysticus Magus is an alchemical name that was adopted by the character Rod in order to break free from the character Rod and become the embodiment of the liberating mind that I want to be, so that I can help other people liberate their mind. So more.
All right, let's get Rod on here. Oh, I forgot to plug in my mic. Running a little late, y'all. Thank you for your patience. Let's get my Rod. What's good? Can you hear me? Rod, can you hear me?
Yeah, your volume low. Let me go out and come back in right quick.
Check. My brother Rod gonna go out and come back in. What's good with the family? Man, we're gonna have a good show tonight. When it's Thursday night. All right. What is it, y'all? I'm kind of low. Let me turn it up. How I sound now? Do I sound a little louder? Mic check. Let me know if I sound a little louder. I'm about to bring Rod back on. Let me know if I sound a little louder. Let me know. Good now? I don't want to be too loud. All right, so that's good. I'll leave it there. Let's get my brother Rod back on the show. Rod, you hear me, man?
Peace. How's it going?
Hey, man, going great. Man, I'm looking forward to the show tonight. First of all, shout out to everybody in the chat. We're going to have an incredible show tonight. As soon as I heard about that story, I'm going to tell y'all, man, as soon as I heard about the story about Larry Hoover and Trump pardoning his federal time, I immediately thought about Rod. I'm like, where does Rod come up with this shit? He be saying shit. I'll be like, and y'all be hearing me. I'll be like, yo, Rod, man, I'm not buying what you selling, Rod. I ain't going for that one. Rod be like, all right. He like the big brother. He be like, all right, I'm telling you. But Rod kept talking about Larry Hoover, and I want to know what's the connection right now with Trump doing what he's doing with that. Why would he do that? And we're gonna have a good connection tonight. Yeah, commute, not pardon. Yeah, but it's coming. Yeah, Rod's gonna get into all of that, as well as other things. There's something, a lot of things brewing. So with that being said, Rod, man, welcome back to the show, my brother.
Thanks, brother Rich. Kind of remind you of the Crip Walk thing I'll talk about the next thing you know.
Same thing. I'm like, why is this dude? I'll be saying that a lot about Rod. I'm like, why does this dude keep talking about this? And then boom, it's in the news months or a year later. And I'm like, oh shit, wow. This dude really know what the fuck he be talking about. So let's start the show out, Rod. Why did President Trump do what he did? I've heard a lot of speculation. A lot of people are happy. A lot of people said it's just, a symbolic gesture. He's not coming home. That's just some shit to make the people happy and not do nothing at the same time. What's your thoughts on why Trump did what he did? What's the spiritual reason, the mundane reason? Let's have a talk about this, Rod. What's going on with this? Because you're the man who's been talking about Larry Hoover since you came on my show the first time.
Yeah, so the thing being is this. Larry Hoover is an actual blood chief on the land with rulership rights from his mother's land. His wife, Winnie, is his tribal mother. She's the tribal mother for the nation, right? But the government and COINTELPRO initiated activities to disrupt the natural formation of the tribes and to interrupt the unity practices we right. So when you see him tell Larry to give Larry some relief, he say what he did it for. He said there was a petition, and he said there was public outcry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then he gave another reason, but I forgot the other reason. But he commuted sentence. He
Mm-hmm.
can't give him a full pardon because he still have a case pending in the state of Illinois that
Mm-hmm.
operate by different legal standards than the Fed,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want the governor Illinois to give Larry a pardon, but the smartest thing I think would be to petition the parole board based on the commutation as the underlying element to lobby for a special consideration parole review. I wouldn't go in trying to get the governor because the governor beefing with Trump, so that'll end up making Larry a political tennis ball, right? In the back and forth between the governor of Illinois and Trump. So we don't want him to be the underlying noun, proper noun in their game of tennis. The parole board only grants special considerations under what they call compelling circumstances, right? By Trump issuing his commutation, then that is a compelling circumstance that if the president issued him reprieve, then the parole board should consider an immediate parole release. But I don't know how his family want to pursue it, his immediate family. But I just think that that would be the smartest path to take, smarter than trying to get a governor at war with a president that gave him some air and he become part of their political jargon, they political back and forth. So now what we looking at is he can be home as soon as 90 days,
Wow.
right? But the problem being is what avenue will the family think would be the most intelligent? Now, spiritually, just the work for Larry to come home in the spirit realm been done already.
Mm.
Right. And it's a lot of people that's gonna follow him out. He's gonna be like the Pied Piper of locked up people coming home.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this gonna have certain effects that's gonna reverberate through the communities. And a lot of these kids that's just out here with their switches acting like they ain't got no senses, they gonna want to be like, wait a minute. And they gonna want to know his story. His story's supposed to inspire them to unify because that's what he really got locked up for. Him, Jeff Ford, David Barksdale, the main 21 of the Peace Stones in the top tier rope and development. You know, we don't remember when the Dan Ryan was being built and all of the so-called gangs didn't want the highway running through the middle of the city. So they formed what's called the LSD Alliance, right? And then they all came to protest the building of the Dan Ryan. Well, they built it anyway because they have no regard for the tribes because we don't have contracts with them. This is why Larry in there in the first place. We don't have contracts with them. We classify as foreign dependent nations. I don't even know what the hell that means, right? We ain't never gonna be foreign on the soil that we sprang from. That don't even make sense. They call us Indian combatant nations. It's another name they use for us, right? They use outlaw tribes because when they established their constitutional law, we wasn't part of it. Never been part of it. But they, as using their overreach of constitutional jurisdictional authority, a subject matter, to override the territorial jurisdiction, right? Which is the law of the land. So they use the admiralty jurisdiction with no regard for the law of the land. That's a tsunami,
Mm.
right? So, but the more we inform, as consciousness of the people raised to what's going on, that's going to be the catalyst for more and more people. That's going to be an asset to the community to get some air from being a prisoner of war on their own homeland.
Mm.
We don't know the police is a foreign military. We think that that they supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be here. It's an appointment position for the chief of police. Nobody with that much power is supposed to be appointed. It's too much power. Y'all got all of the guns. Y'all control the armory of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all supposed to be elected by the people in the town. You're not supposed to be appointed. That's why you got sheriffs. Sheriffs are elected law officials. You ain't supposed to be appointed to law. What's supposed to happen is the mayor is supposed to request a deputy lieutenant if he have what they call a high crime district to put a deputy sheriff, a lieutenant deputy sheriff over the town and give them more resources, and then it comes out of the city's coffers. But instead of doing that, they hiring a foreign mercenary military from overseas, and we wondering why they keep shooting people in the back. They sensationalize and race bait with police assassinations. But when you go really start digging, they equal opportunity murderers. They will kill anybody. They worse than the gang because the gang. Most of the gangs, when they kill somebody, is considered a op or a rival gang. The police is a foreign military, and they could shoot you down, black, white, or otherwise, because they are enforcing the war codes of the interim government. The interim government can't go until the tribes figure out why they here, right? The lawman that was with birthright to enforce the law of the land, they locked him up right behind Larry, Jeff Ford. He's supposed to be the law in the land. He's supposed to be the one organizing the red houses. When you want to wear the red war bonnet, that's a war regalia. And those who represent the one who wears the red war bonnet that leads his troops, which is Angel Bay, Jeff Ford. Larry is the spokesperson, the diplomat. He was supposed to be negotiating terms of agreements between other chiefs on the land. Well, they was locking them all up. And that was their worst mistake, because now you got all of the chiefs sleeping in the cell next to each other. And they can create treaties spiritually and physically among themselves to change the condition of the collective. It's up to the collective to get them the required support. Like yesterday, Lil Larry did a video. He was asking them to stop putting the pitchforks and the 6-point stars, because to the government, that's promoting what they call criminal behavior. And they kept doing it. But you got to remember, the feds pay out the DEA, FBI, CIA, and the police. They pay more money. They pay enough money in the snitch program to get us out of poverty. Oh, they giving snitches. They got paid informants and make damn near $100,000 a year. But they grew up in our community. We all seen them, but we didn't know who they was. The one that ain't never sold a bag. All of a sudden, he got all this money, getting all the same stuff the drug dealers getting. Right, but he don't sell nothing. But he always up under the one selling. Or if he's into the stick-up game, he ain't never robbed nobody, but all he do is hang out with the stick-up crew in the hood. Then he got just as much money as them, but he don't do what they do. Where he getting his money from? They showed us in Lawrence Fishburne showed us in Deep Cover how they operate. We got to remember, what was the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Raw Deal, where they went and got a remote sheriff and sent him into town to be a gangster in order to get revenge for the dude that shot the police chief daughter or some stuff, right? Then they had the show called Wise Guy, right? And in this show is almost the same as Deep Cover, but it's a series. And it's a dude that's trying to infiltrate the mob. They sitting there giving us all of the tools of or all of the mechanics of how they infiltrating us, but we not paying it no attention because we too busy struggling under the pain of poverty and the struggle to get out the hood. The struggle was never to get out the hood. We weren't trying to get away from each other. We was just trying to find opportunities from where we was so that we couldn't be looked down on as a pariah of society. Right? They turn around and they start turning the clans against each other under their chief. The chief's like, why are they not listening to me? Larry and Jeff been friends since teenagers, right? They all know the Vice Lord leadership, Benny Lee and all them. They know all of them. They've all sat down and broke bread trying to figure out how to unite the youth. And then somebody in the mix of them is always an antagonist, a provocateur, right? The provocateur do the crime and they try to lure other people into it. But when it's time for the crime to be effectuated, everybody they recruited there, but they ain't there, right? They just sent everybody to go to commit this crime, and then they dip. They strategies haven't changed, right? But right there in the United States Code say that if the government creates a condition of a crime, right, or creates elicits a person to commit a crime, right, then that person is not guilty by what they call entrapment. Now, most of us don't know COINTELPRO was designed to take the leadership, the natural leadership, because we can always gravitate toward us as opposed to politicians in Washington. We're not going to look up to nobody in the capital of the state for a remedy for our problems. We're going to look from somebody that came from where we at, grew up with us to come with the solution, and they knew this. So what do? Every child that shows promise, especially the boys, because they normally lead the war cause. If the boy look like he can organize, get rid of him. If he look like he can educate and inform, get rid of him. If the people look like he's the most loved, most respected, get rid of him. You have to find a way to get rid of him. Always try to get rid of him. Can't let him have a leader. J. Edgar Hoover wrote in the mission statement of the COINTELPRO that they purpose. The mission was to stop the rise of any potential messiah who could incite the masses. We don't have messiahs over here, right? Messiahs came from a different culture. We had different leaders over here, but they look like everybody else because we didn't have the separation in the families where my family better than yours. We used to play the dozens, but that was for fun, right? But we didn't really have in our heart that my family is better than yours. Is that how can my family and your family make more out of abundance out of life? That's why they broke up Black Wall Street. That's the principle. Right? It's the principle. You can't allow the oppressed to understand what the oppressor is doing that keeps them oppressed. What is the tools of oppression being used to tie your hands, your feet, and bind you to their cross? If you don't understand it, there's no way you can help yourself, let alone somebody else. So some of us, Larry say, some of us got to hit the books. We ain't gang banging no more. We brain banging because as he matured as an individual and self-educated and self-imprisoned, it dawned on him that the conditions, we wasn't educated enough in our community to see the conditions and to read the strategy being used against us. We didn't understand warfare. We didn't understand political paradigms. We didn't understand conquest and conquering mechanisms of power from kings and queens, because everybody over here was a no big I know you philosophy. And if we had a problem with each other, we ran that fade, but didn't nobody die.
Mm-hmm.
Now they die off the basic misunderstanding you could think of. Right? Why you step on my shoe? Remember what Ice Cube wrote? Us. We'll always sing the blues because all we care about is hairstyles and tennis shoes. And if you stepped on mine, you pushed a button because I'm going to beat you down like it ain't nothing. Killing each other like savage beasts. But I'm the first one to holler out peace, black man. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Ice Cube told us that, and he was like 22, 23 when he told us that. If that. So how well did that teenage boy understand the problem to be able to put it in song format to express it to us? Right? And this is all done by outside interference. And this all traced back to the underlying cause to Larry being locked up, Jeff being locked up, Imam Al-Amin being locked up, Asada being in exile. It's all the same.
But Rod, and I was just about to ask you, that was going to be my next question. Why do you think Trump keeps calling, black people get happy? Anything Trump do, Trump supporters, they the biggest dick riders I ever seen in my life. But Trump keeps saying he wants Asada. He wants to bring Asada back to the States. Why you think he keeps talking about Asada? Cuba ain't letting Asada go. Why does Trump keep talking about
Cuba not holding her hostage. Cuba not holding her hostage. The problem is if they want Asada to come home, everybody write to Governor of New Jersey and say, give us pardon Asada. Just like they want all these people in the Fed to be pardoned by Trump, but ain't nobody's really speaking up for Asada Shakur.
Mm-hmm.
You had a few people that understood the struggle. Khan got a song about Asada. Pac talked about her in a couple of songs. The reason why you want people to continuously mention the name of a person that suffers an injustice, so that you can establish justice on behalf of the person that was done unjustly. Somebody got to be able to tell the story of Asada Shakur, and who better to tell the story than Asada Shakur? She the best person to tell the Asada Shakur story. I could tell her story. Pac could tell her story. Biggie can tell her story. Mobb Deep can tell her story. NWA can tell it. The best person to tell Asada Shakur story is Asada Shakur. And they don't want her telling her story. But now that the old system, because remember, the last 8-9 years, we've been going through continuity of government since the first Trump administration. Right? We got to remember, Obama is a foreigner. He's not from here. And he wasn't born here is why the birth certificate even mattered. Because constitutionally, when he took office, that was the end of America. America had been successfully conquered by a foreign outside force. They tried to kill him for it. Did Gregory tell the story about Petraeus and how Petraeus got arrested trying to assassinate Obama? But he ain't tell you what it was about. Obama looked like us, but he not one of us. He one of them boys from Brazil, from the Nazi breeding program. And they got more than one of them.
I think you told me something about Akhenaten, right? They breed.
Yeah, that's who mummy they took cells from to culture the cells and reproduce a pharaoh that they thought could pull rank on the boy king. You're not gonna do that. It's a hierarchy of enforcement in the tribal ways around the world. All tribes was put into the game and under Sakurno during the Bang Dong conference. All tribes was activated then. We didn't have no answer for white supremacy before the Bang Dong conference. Now we had an answer for it, but everybody not applying the answer. Or else it wouldn't have took us from the 1950s Bang Dong conference to the 2020s in order to determine how to break free. Nobody's paying attention. Everybody's trying to live their own individual life, but it's the sacrifice of the community. And then by sacrificing the community to live your life, you end up getting sacrificed by the community for living your life. So it's the two double-edged swords cutting both ways.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. I want to read you because I want to post this. I want to wait, hold up. Let me text my lady back. Give me 1 second. I want to read you because I want to read you some comments from Instagram and TikTok. And I'm gonna take this, answer. What you answer with this, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna post it on Instagram and TikTok as a clip. Because majority of us on this channel, we know what the deal is. These people that's commenting, making certain remarks, they may not be privy to the same information as the people on this channel. So I just want to let you know how some of the masses may think when they hear about Larry Hoover. Hold up. Give me a second, family. Larry Hoover is a man who should have never been pardoned. Another comment: black men who contribute to the delinquency of their communities always get so much love, but God forbid a woman is a stripper or entertainer or speaks up against the speaks up about abuse. Next comment: we have to understand how the system works so we can recognize performative acts with the agenda to appease our people. Trump can only pardon at a federal level. Hoover still has life with the state. So at the end of the day ended with the same result as yesterday. Next comment: no, we got to stop glorifying gang leaders that contributed to the detriment of our community. Next comment: he was a gangster that contributed to the demise and destruction of his own black community. Let's not do this. Crawl, and they said Chance, because that's the person, Chance the Rapper made a post about him defending him. So they said, Chance, crawl back into the hole you came out of. Next comment: meanwhile, grandma Medicaid is being taken away, but NBA is back. Y'all so celebrity obsessed. Next comment: y'all acting like he's Fred Hampton or something. This is ridiculous. And this is going to be the last comment I read, and you can make your response. And like I said, I'm going to post this for people who may not be privy to the information on people in this as the people on this channel. Indeed, he was a where was it? Hold up, y'all. All right, I'm gonna end it there because I don't see. I'm gonna see it there. What do you think about those comments on Instagram and TikTok?
It shows how either those people are not our people and don't understand our culture, or they've been successfully indoctrinated by the assimilation system that Garvey warned us about. Because once you believe that the system is working in your interest, anybody that they villainize is going to be your villain, and anybody that they make a hero is going to be your hero. This is how we get caught up in celebrity worship, as one of the comments was about celebrities. The celebrity worship is they give us celebrities in place of leadership. So we had a bunch of children in the 80s called rappers that came out as children and told us about leadership in music. So they had to shut it down. these people has waged a war against us, and propaganda warfare is more powerful than bullets and gun warfare. Because under bullets and gun warfare, you can clearly see the enemy busting at you. But when you go under propaganda warfare, your enemy controls the media, your enemy controls the banking system, your enemy controls the education of your child, that your enemy controls your entertainment, right? Your enemy controls where you're gonna work, if you're gonna be able to stay there. Your enemy control all political arenas from the local level to the federal level and everything in the middle. Your enemy has placed admiralty judges across the land to give you the appearance of legitimacy. Your enemy has put uniforms on and flooded the community because they foreign agents. They have to clearly identify themselves. If you don't understand none of that stuff, then you speaking presumptuously without knowing why you feel the way you feel. The only reason why you don't know that you've been indoctrinated and brainwashed is because you've been indoctrinated and brainwashed. I don't even like to say brainwashed. I like to say contaminated mind, because to wash something is to cleanse it. So I think most of us need to be brainwashed because they gave us so much filth to put our trust in a government that has nothing to do with the people. That's not actually a government, it's actually a corporation, like Halliburton did in Iraq and Afghanistan. They repeating the same history over and over, but you have people that still don't know what's going on in the world around them, so they derive opinions based off propaganda warfare. And you're gonna always, when you base your opinion off propaganda, you're gonna always show yourself by the stance you take on the topic you do not understand, but you think you do. Right? Neely Fuller was quoted by Francis Wellesley in the ISIS papers. And it said, the quote she quoted him as saying is, if you don't understand white supremacy, then everything that you think you understand is only confusing you. I come from the school of thought and didn't feel like this. We're not always supposed to all agree all the time. That's foolish. People have a right to have a different opinion than I have, a different understanding of the same material that we both read than I have. They may see stuff in there that I don't see. I may see stuff in there that they don't see. That goes to individuality. The person being able to express themselves and to tell you what they see, but also able to understand and listen to what you see. That gave you 2 points of view on the same subject matter, and now you use it as comparative analysis to reconcile the differences in the two. This is exactly the process of questioning that Neely Fuller give in the United Independent Compensatory Code in order to combat the ideology of white supremacy. White supremacy is an actual operative war protocol being instituted under the all 9 areas or 10 areas of people activity. The blueprint or the definition of what it is written as protocols of the learned elders of Zion, which is billed as a fictitious document, but everything that they say them people is doing in that book, they actually doing it in real life. And if you understood the book, you can look around and you can see that the people that's in charge of everything in the book told you what they was going to try to get in charge of. And they did it. And the only reason they was more successful than us is because they was teaching us something called rugged individualism, where we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps when we don't have boots. So this is how they get us seduced into fighting for them instead of fighting to liberate our own self and our own mind. That's why Larry say, we not gang banging, we brain banging. Get in the library and read the books. Read the whole library if you can. The law library, the art library, whatever library you get into, read it. Because as the information mature in your mind, you'll be able to see the problem better. So those people that make those comments, they entitled to say whatever they want to say, but that don't make them right, right? Like somebody brought up the Alliance Credit Union case, more of the Alliance Credit Union, and they was telling me that the case was fictitious, so I had to go double back and found that it was based on the ruling of a tax case, Moore versus United States, but somebody used it to put the information as to how to defend against the mortgage fraud in the case based on that other case. So it's like a parody. The thing about it is there's a 1890 something case or early 1900s case out of it's either Minnesota or Wisconsin in the Northwest Territory that tells how the person who had the mortgage was defrauded because the bank never gave them anything of value.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that case still stands, but nobody uses it to fight their mortgage claims. Right? But the more of the Alliance Credit Union is using the same information that was used in the prior case to write the parody based on the more of the United States case. And I had to go back and look into that. But all the information is not always accurate. You guys be able to withstand correction if you want to move beyond the error. Ain't nobody perfect. We ain't supposed to believe everything that everybody say anyway. We supposed to believe what our inner self tell us about what they say more than we believe what they say. Because once you become your first point of reference, you begin to see through a lot of the misaligned information. Like the villainizing of words is critical to propaganda warfare. Tribe and gang mean the same thing. And matter of fact, not only do they mean the same thing, democracy at its root, where the majority rule by vote, ties back into them same two words, tribe and gang. Right? It's called mob rule in democracy. And when you go back to just read Plato's Republic, and you realize that all of the stuff they're doing is a big stage play in order to occupy the mortal mind while they rule the world. Right? So those people can have their opinions and they can believe everything they want to believe. But Iran-Contra proves that the government was bringing the dope in, flooding our communities with it.
You know, Rod, so you talked about the stage play that's happening while certain elite, so-called elite, rule the world. This so-called elite, Phil calls them the parasitic elite. They have access to a lot of information we don't have access to.
Yes, they do.
They hide a lot of information and use it for themselves, or or they flood the world with misinformation just to confuse the people. You are a very spiritual brother. Obviously, we all know at this point. One of the things that you do is astral travel. And you told me we had the conversation on the phone. You told me you astral traveled and came across the information in this book. What I want to ask you, let's get a little deeper now. We talked about, the surface level of this thing. Let's get a little spiritual with this thing here. If you astral travel and you're coming across certain information, I'm sure you come across certain spirits when you astral travel. Have you ever came across the elite, the so-called elite, while you're astral traveling, because they're trying to obtain the same information you're trying to obtain, because they know where the fuck to go to get it? It's in your DNA. You know, but you don't know, but you running into the motherfuckers, and they're like, what you doing here? And you like, what you doing here? And you're there at the same time. Have you ever ran into them astral traveling, my brother?
Well, you gotta remember, one of the things that you learn when you practicing sorcery is cloak magic.
Yeah.
Cloaking magic, they might look like a disincarnate being of a grotesque nature, or they can look extremely attractive. It don't matter, as long as you don't see the person for who they are. The same magic is being played on us in the physical realm that they use in the astral to hide themselves while they do their dirt. Franz Bardon wrote a book called Frabato the Magician. And in
What's
the
it called?
book, Frabato the Magician, they made a
Okay.
movie about it with Perry Mason in it.
Okay.
Anyway, in the he was talking about his war with the dark sorcerers in the book. And it's a fiction, but it's loosely based on his life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's telling how they use they magic, and you can sense the magic better than you can sense who's sending it,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So they was using rituals against him, and then he was using counter magic, protection magic to block him out from doing anything to him,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So on the astral plane, normally if somebody have malice,
Mm.
they don't astral travel. Most of the elites today don't use spirit science. They
Yeah.
use technology to do the same thing that you do spiritually,
Mm.
right? While we was astral traveling, they was learning remote viewing, but they was also developing a computer program that can do massive amounts of mathematical equations called Operation Looking Glass,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
right? And they got frustrated with it because no matter what scenario they put in, it was always a 2012 convergence from every angle they looked at the problem, no matter what they tried to interject as a different variable,
Mm.
right? So they use technology because a lot of them don't have access to the spirit realm, the astral realm, the etheric realms. They don't have access. So they use the technology in the 3D world as if it was magic, but they don't astral travel much. Normally, what you find in the astral travel is you find somebody that was a convert or a loyalist to the elites,
Mm.
and they haphazardly traveling. They don't even know what they're doing, and you bump into them, and it's like bumping into somebody that don't really understand where they at on the street. Like, where am I at? You can clearly sense their sense of amnesia. That means they traveling, but they don't know they traveling. They think they just having a dream.
Damn. Damn. What's your thoughts on I think I seen you post something on Instagram. Let me pull it up real quick. Shout out to y'all in the chat. What we got going on in the chat? We got about 3,400 people in here. Shout out to all of y'all. Let me pull up something with Rod. Give me 1 second, y'all. Take a 2 second break in the chat. Your Instagram is the sick ape, right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Mm, you put up something about okay. Let me okay. Let me share this. I want to give y'all a visual. I could have just asked Rod the question, but I want to give y'all a visual as well as let y'all know Rod has an Instagram that he posts on. I want y'all all to follow Rod Hayes on Instagram if you want to see what the brother got to say. So you posted, Rod, you said oh, hold up. Oh shit, where am I? Hold up, y'all. Earth could be hit by a 600,000 mile wide solar eruption tomorrow. The sun is preparing for something much bigger that will be unpredicted. You posted this right before you posted about about the Larry Hoover thing. I don't know where that joint is at, but what's the deal with is there any connection between the solar flare activity and the weird things we see going on right now? Maybe Trump doing this with Larry Hoover. Is there any connection that we may not know about that we should be aware of?
There's a group of people that the sun is going to turn their physiology
Turn it what? Turn it off?
off.
Okay, you got to explain it, my brother.
Okay.
You got to.
So all cells on Earth, plant, mammal, reptile, the powerhouse of all cells is mitochondria.
Yes, yes.
the solar flares is scanning, is they bursting information to the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth is responding in Schumann resonance,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the solar rays is coming through, it also pass through the people. They
Mm-hmm.
call photons.
Mm-hmm.
The photons accumulate at the core of the Earth, and the data is exchanged with the Earth's core,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then the
Right.
Earth sends out a Schumann blast that responds to the solar flare. It also passes through the people in order to get the message back to the sun. So this is the dawn of a new age. So first they got to calibrate solar flare Schumann resonance response. Once they get calibrated, it's going to be what they call the great solar flare. When that one hit, the Earth is going to do what's called Atlas shrug. It's going to shiver at the core. We not going to feel an earthquake when it shiver, but what it's going to do is send out a broadband wavelength of Schumann resonance that serve as a parasite remover for any artificial mitochondrial connected beings. That
Mm-hmm.
means that they ain't originally from here and they fabricated the mitochondrial in order to be able to occupy here. Well,
Whoa.
at the close of the age, the earth know who everybody is genetically because
Mm-hmm.
we all imprinted on the earth's core. So when she
Mm-hmm.
sent out the blast, anybody that's on the wrong frequency, they belong here will come back in the future under the conditions that allow them to attain the proper frequency. But
Mm-hmm.
the ones that's not from here, they gonna be talking about they hear sirens in their head.
Damn.
They gonna have nose bleed, eyes, ears bleeding. But that Schumann resonant blast, some of them is just gonna turn them straight off.
Whoa. What does that
But
look like?
others,
Turning them off. What does that look like?
and walking down the street and you just drop dead.
Shit.
You driving down in your car, you just die. It's like somebody just turn your brain off or turn your heart off,
Mm-hmm.
like it with a switch. You
Yeah.
go in immediate slump mode.
Yeah.
Those are what Bobby Hemmett referred to as spirit artificial,
Mm.
right? We got rid of them before, but they loyalists that won't be here this time called them back in. They talk about that in the Emerald Tablets, the Dark Brothers.
What do they say about the Dark Brothers in the Emerald Ten? This is Thoth speaking. Um, I asked somebody real quick, Rod. I asked somebody. I forgot. I didn't ask so many questions, Rod. I forgot who I asked this to. Um, when you talk about Thoth and the different names of Thoth, Hermes, Jehuti, you never hear a white person saying Jehuti. They'll say Thoth, they'll say Hermes, they might even say Tahuti, but the actual pronunciation of Jehuti, the D and the J, it's like, and I forgot who I asked this question to. I was like, when you talked about the boy king, Tutankhamun, and you said Tupac was the reincarnation of Tutankhamun. Whenever white people, and I'm not trying to get shots to white people, y'all know what I'm talking about when I say this. There's a lot of white people who think they're white aren't really white, but y'all know what I'm talking about. When certain white people say the name Tupac, they always say Tupac. They never say Tupac. They always say Tupac. And it's like you don't heard this is the most famous rapper that ever existed. One of them, you heard his name over and over, but you could pronounce Arnold Schwarzenegger. You could pronounce all these complicated white names, but when you say Tupac, they'll say Tupac. So why you never hear white people say Jehuti? What is it about the frequency of the vibration? Because we always talk about Tahuti, but the frequency of Jehuti, you never hear nobody say that. Only a few people, the elders, say that.
Most of the pale faces um, speech pattern comes from Latin and Greek.
Mm-hmm.
And the Latin pronunciation of Jehuti is Tehuti.
Mm.
So when they pronounce it, they're going to lean toward the pronunciation given to them by the Latin or the Greek.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the same with us that's from the South.
Mm.
We don't drink water in the South. We drink water.
Okay.
Everybody down south know what I just said. We don't drink water down south. We drink water.
Water. Water. Okay, I got
Mhm.
you.
Like, and that goes with cultural influence on the vocal inflections of a language and pronouncing foreign languages in the new tongue. It go back to Grimm's law of grammar for transliteration and translation.
Mhm.
The D and the J in Kemet was one letter.
It was one letter, yeah.
Yeah, but when you spell it like the name Jehuti, it's
Mm.
one letter.
Mm.
But when you use the letters of the Greek alphabet, what we call the alpha beta system, it's only can be either the D or the J. It can't be both,
Mm.
right? Because there's no sound in the Greek alphabet for the combining inflections of the DJ connection.
Mm.
But when you speaking it from the Greek or the Latin, which means you speaking it from a Spanish tongue, the Spanish or the Latin would be more closer to accurately pronouncing Jehuti than the Greek, right? But those are the primary two scholarly languages from Europe.
Mm.
You know, Russian is a spinoff of Greek and Latin fusion, right? Then
So
you got all those other tongues that come from those primary two tongues. The Greek priests was priestesses out of Kemet that was sent to settle Greece, and they wrote the Greek language. Well, the Etruscans needed a scholarly language, so they wrote Latin. Latin is considered a dead language because its original form hasn't changed, but Spanish and spin-off languages like French and Portuguese become what you call the living language because you add foreign words to expand the language. The original English language only had like 300-400 words, but now when you get an encyclopedic dictionary, it's probably a couple million words in there,
mm.
at least a couple thousand. You know, that's what give you them big, thick dictionaries. And then when you find out that the majority of the English words not even English, a lot of words was derived from the languages of the natives of this land. That they got words from India, words from China and Japan, and then they transliterated the word into an English rendition. It's just like Chinese food in America ain't Chinese food. That's from the San Francisco Bay. The
Mm.
same thing as what Taco Bell ain't Mexican food.
Mm.
That's food that imitates Mexican culture. What they call cultural appropriation. Mexicans don't make food that tastes like Taco Bell. It tastes better,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like when we cooked our food at the Greasy Spoon joint, it tastes just like my mama cooked it or my auntie cooked it. But Taco Bell don't taste like Mexicans cook that. It tastes like some people that just learned how to add seasoning to their food cooked it.
Mm.
You know, it's the same with the language.
Yeah, you
It's
know what
what
I
they call it, the sauce. It's the sauce in the language.
saw. Yeah, yeah, there you
You,
go.
you know, and then when we take a word, we gonna make it our own anyway. You don't care what word you give us, we gonna redefine it and repurpose it and use it how we want to use it. And we don't care how you told us we should be using it. We gonna do it our way. That's the tribal tradition over here.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you, like, this is some shit I just thought of, Rod. This some interesting shit now. This ain't no book shit, y'all. This some shit I just thought of. I'm on my Bobby Hemming shit. Y'all all right? Now listen, yo, Jehuti, the D and the J, there's not many words like you in the English that utilizes that. So people start just saying Jehuti or whatever. Yo, you know what's crazy, Rob? One of the only words I could think of that uses that is the DJ, the record DJ. Chicka, 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 chicka. He plays the records, nigga. Jehuti is the scribe of the God. He gives us the record. Nigga, come on. There's got to be a connect. The DJ plays all the records, the music of the gods. What Jehuti? Oh my God. The DJ and the Jehuti, the DJ. Nigga, come on, man. The DJ and the DJ. Right. Let's talk about it. The DJ, my nigga. Oh, listen, man. Yeah.
The musical culture.
He was the ancient DJ, y'all. Tahuti.
Yeah. Like a lot of people don't recognize him with the flute because he's also Pan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. When you go study Tahuti and Kemet, they tell you he is the father of medicine, the father of science, or they call him the netter. He's the netter of history, the netter of hieroglyphic writing cards. That means that he's a netter of divination. So when you get done finding out like Ty, they say he's the fashioner of man. But Tahuti is the wisdom or the breath in man. Right? So now you had a man making men, but you still need a God to make him come alive. Right? So the mythologies is when you get to your wit's end and you calling them up in hierarchy. Once the boy king come and he denied his duty, his recognition, his proper place in the society, he gonna call for the biggest dog he can find. He not gonna call for the one next in line. He gonna call for the one that everybody don't want to see. Right? So when Tupac say, when I'm after me, this next dude ain't gonna have no mercy, this is what he talking about, because he know the culture, he know the art. The culture and the art, you can't separate the art from the culture. We still playing Mississippi Delta blues, but we just put it on a break beat and made it rhyme. But we was rhyming over blues tracks. You know what I'm saying? So, the rhyming is nothing new to us, and it's how we use it that make the difference. Like earlier, I was quoting Ice Cube. You know, and yeah. So sometimes you might hear me quote Rakim. Sometimes it might be Brother Jake. Sometimes it might be Black Thought, right? But the goal of him, the end game goal was for hip hop to produce Eminem. They had to produce a white pop. That was the whole mission at the beginning, spiritually speaking. Because if he don't got that drop of blood, he won't be able to flip them words. He don't got that drop of blood, he won't be able to flip them words. And that's why when some pale faces rap, they sound mechanical.
Very mechanical. Very mechanical.
But then you got the other ones that got that flow. It's the same way you got Mexicans, they got that flow. You hardly ever hear them sound mechanical. You had the only brother in the last 30, 40 years that was sounding mechanical was Chubb Rock. And he was still riding that beat, banging out them tracks. Right? But if you go back further, that was the standard under Curtis Blow, the Cold Crush crew. It was the beginning of it. It was developmental phases of learning rhyme patterns. Then Rakim came, and LL came, and Run came, and they changed the delivery of them by putting rhyming words in places that other people didn't think to put them in. Then Rakim say some of my rap patterns still surround Saturn. Think about that for a lyric. Right? The maximum amount of information in one bar. Some of my rap patterns still surround Saturn.
Hey, Rob, what was it, Chubb Rock? I remember Chubb Rock, the heavy
1990, Chubb Rock jumps up on the scene with the green and the hardcore dream. The dream wasn't crafted to be pornographic.
There you go. There you go. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Damn, man. Oh, man. Reminiscing on our music. What was the hook of that song? Do you remember the hook of that track right there? The one you
treat him right. Go treat him right.
Go, 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 Go.
Yeah.
Woo, woo, woo. They be like, woo, woo, woo. Gino eyes. See, y'all, I know some of this. Yo, damn, man. Oh, man. Yo, this is a beautiful thing, man, to reminisce on music. Oh, man. That's what they did in the movie Sinners, y'all. Oh, man, that's a beautiful thing. Right. So let me ask you this, man. Having a good time as usual. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got 3,800 people in the chat. I gotta ask you, man. Before I go there, because I was gonna go to the whole September thing and the Virgo season and how things are lining up and all of that. And it's interesting. Well, let me say this. What's interesting, Ron? Let me say this. You did a show with me. What's this 2025, so-called 2020. I think the beginning of 2024, we did a show in the beginning of the year, and you was like, "Yo, we enter the golden age." And you was like, what was that name? The Marahabata. What was it called?
The Maherta.
Maherta. It was the Maherta, right? And you was telling people about how we got ushered into the golden age. One of the first things Trump said, since we're talking about Trump, when he became president, he said he's going to bring us into the golden age. Who does Trump, for Trump to be doing the shit you talking about, Rod, man, who does Trump work for, man? You talk about Larry Hoover, Trump getting into this Larry Hoover shit. You talk about the golden age, Trump talk about the gold. Who Trump work for, man? We be saying this shit, man. Who Trump work for? How? Because he be into some esoteric shit, I see. Even the way he talks about magic and the way he manifests things into this realm. Who does this man work for, brother?
He's working for military high command. The military high command is right now operating not in the Pentagon. Everybody that's in the Pentagon is isolated. That's where the traitors at.
Okay.
The people that Trump worked for is in Colorado and Raven Rock, and where if something happens, they're supposed to usher all of the most important people on the land into the bunker, like in case of nuclear war. That's not gonna happen, but it has happened before. But it ain't gonna happen because it's not required. It's not necessary. But he worked for military high command transitional government team. They're commonly referred to as the White Hats. And there was a group of military generals and admirals who had retired. Some of them were still in, but they had discovered the fraud. They had discovered the fictitious nature of the government, and they needed to come up with a strategic program in order to give the land back to the caretakers, which was the tribes. The problem now is not giving the land back to the tribes. The problem is if you give the land back to the tribes, they don't remember what to do with it. So you have to do everything in what they call drip fashion. It's got to come a point, though, where the drip is going to turn into the floodgates busting open. And that's when we're going to get a lot of information that's going to verify what we can't give you receipts for, right? Like the Gitmo. They print, it's in print who's been executed at Gitmo, but the general conditioned public that's been subject to years of propaganda abuse, they don't accept that as valid because it didn't come on NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, Nightline, Dateline, Fox. Since it didn't come from those sources, they consider the source as an unreliable source, even if the reporter that's reporting it is on the registry as a reporter and have the reporter credentials and is sitting there in the tribunals while they taking place. The people still don't believe that it took place because they didn't see it yet on their mainstream media. Remember, I told you at the end, all of your favorite newscasters that work for the CIA gonna be gone. And then you're gonna have another group of news reporters that's gonna come in and they're gonna be truthers. And they're gonna be telling you news that the news normally wouldn't tell you. That's how you gonna know that the major upper 90% of the switch is taking place when the newscast change. Then the next thing you gotta look for is when they replace the police, the foreign military force with the National Guard, because they know foreigners don't have more right than the people of the land to police the land. So in order to get rid of the foreign agents, you have to put National Guard in their stead until they can balance out the community again and get rid of crime.
Right, right, right. Well, let me ask you this, Rod. What's the deal with Larry Hoover? People, Kanye West talked about him a lot. I just mentioned Chance the Rapper said something about him. These are individuals that's from Chicago. Chicago's always in the news for some negative shit. They make it seem like they call it Chirac. They make it seem like you go to don't ever go to Chicago. You talked about who they vilify is somebody we need to look toward, and who they praise somebody we need to not support in terms of the media. For them to vilify and make Chicago look so horrible, like I'll give you an example. I hear so much things about New York, and it sits on crystals, and this is why New York is so the Empire State or whatever. What the hell is it about Chicago that we may not be aware of? That our ancestors knew, that they know, that they don't want us there, that produces people like a Larry Hoover. Talk to me about Chicago and the history from our ancestors way back, whatever. Some spiritual, metaphysical talk, Rod, because there's something about this. The Nation of Islam, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad. I could go on and on about Chicago. But what is it about Chicago, spiritually speaking, Rod?
All of these major cities, Chicago, New York, New Orleans, Miami, Atlanta, LA, Las Vegas, lesser Vegas than some of the other ones, but they all sitting on ancient metropolises. Those were cities long before Columbus ever got over here.
Okay.
Right? Chicago was a city long before John Baptiste du Sable was born.
Yeah, somebody saying Chicago is Haitian territory. What the hell? Yeah. Is that
that's Baptiste du Sable? He was Haitian. And they give him credit with being the founder of Chicago. Mm-hmm. But the reason why Chicago was sparsely populated, because all of the people in Chicago, just like a lot of other major cities, went to Florida to fight in the Gullah Wars. That's why they couldn't beat us. Right now, the government know that we had what was called Grand Doula Centers. The Grand Doula Center in Chicago used to be exactly where Cook County Hospital was. Ancient souls tend to come back to the certain places based on when they're going to be born. So they follow the metropolis's stellar alignment. Every city has a zodiac sign, right? Based on birth date, or what they call date of charter. And the corporate charters have an expiration date, but they don't tell us that all of this stuff have an expiration date. But this is the reason why Congress did the 400-year recognition. That was recognition in 2019 of 400 years of warfare, of invasion and colonization by what they call the Israelites. We know we naturally godly people, but we also are aware tribally that God don't favor rod over rich or rich over rod. But rich and rod both have a different job in the overall scheme, and God wants us both to do our job as effectively as possible. And sometimes it brings people together, but sometimes it divides people and separate them. When you're talking about the proper conditions for a leader to rise up from an oppressed people, they have to have a strong congregation of the people that's oppressed in order for it to be a fertile soil for a new leadership to rise up. You have to live through the experience of the condition in order to figure out how to solve the condition. Right? So if you don't know if you didn't come from an area, you don't really understand a problem until you go there and spend some time there.
Okay.
right? So, like New York, the 5 boroughs, them 5 different tribes that made up the boroughs before colonization.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 5 tribe confederacy. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same way that the Iroquois had one and the Cherokee had one. But the tribes that was touched up against each other made agreements to prevent war. We didn't need war. We knew how to communicate with each other. We knew how to talk. We knew how to respect each other. We knew how to honor each other with rights to dissent from what our opinion is without getting all blowed out of shape. Now, a dude come to you can run this whole uh, broken plan down about breaking into the bank in the middle of the night and robbing the vault. That's not gonna happen. But as soon as you tell him that's not gonna happen, oh man, you a hater,
Yeah, man.
right? Because it's conditioning. But when you go to any part of the country, we had major. You could still see the mounds. Everywhere you see a mound, that used to be a city.
Mm.
The mounds was created as a centerpiece of a city, right? It's easier to see it in Mesoamerica than it is where the foliage has covered it up with greenery in the main north and south. Like it's a whole monkey village under the forest in the Amazon.
Mm.
But it's a Hanuman village, actually, but they call it the monkey village. Hanuman
Right.
is another name for Tahuti.
What's another
It
name?
is what you call Hanuman.
Okay.
Hanuman is spoke about in the Ramayana as a companion to Lord Ram,
Mm-hmm.
right? But in China, they call him Sun Wukong. Same character, different culture, right? And the monkeys is symbolic of the monkey man. If you can tame the monkey man and gain control of the man, the rogue aspect of the mind, then you begin to access information that other people can't.
Right, this is a good point. They said the Hanuman tribe was in Black Panther. Black Panther 1. I remember I didn't see Black Panther 2, but I remember in Black Panther 1 they were mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the what's my man name in BK and Biku was the king of the gorilla clan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So it's still now if you pay attention to the dynamic, they telling you in the theatrical performance that T'Challa, the Black Panther, aka Tupac, out of Oakland, is calling for um, the
No,
chief of the
it's
Gorilla
Killmonger
Clan.
out of Oakland, right? Killmonger was out of Oakland, right?
T'Challa was too.
Okay, I didn't. Okay, shit.
When you go to the beginning of the movie, they in Oakland, California, looking at a UFO, or it might be the end of the movie, right? But that's because T'Challa father or uncle went to school there,
Mm-hmm.
right? T'Challa ended up moving there later, but Killmonger was an illegitimate son, but he was a rightful heir, right? Just because you the heir don't mean you're gonna take the throne.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't do what's required um, to show yourself approved, they're not gonna let you take the throne, even if they had to execute you. They're not putting no tyrants on the throne no more. That's a done deal.
Right, right. Wow. Um, let me get to a couple of questions that you got the chat. Boom. We got about 4,200 people in the chat. I want to get to a couple of questions from y'all. Before I do, I want to have Rod tie all of this together. And we're gonna talk about this Virgo season and things that's on the on the way coming down now. So but before we do, make sure y'all put some questions in the chat. I do want to give y'all, I know y'all coming here deep to see Rod. I do want to give y'all an opportunity to ask the brother some questions. But Rod, having a conversation, and try to keep it on the subject, y'all, because y'all start asking why my mama don't like me. You know what I'm saying? Why my mama always mistreated me and shit. I'm not trying to, down that, but goddamn, at least try to keep it relatable to what we're talking about right now, family. Rod, man, you're talking about shit is heating up. People feel it in the air. I had to talk with Phil a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, something is in the air. People could feel it. We're programmed the atmosphere with certain thoughts, certain vibrations. It's only a matter of time before something happens, Rod. I talked to you. You said, Rich, something big gonna happen in Virgo season around August, September, October, around those months. Based on what you're seeing going on right now, Rod, let's talk about that. That's you. You made a lot of predictions, my brother. You made a lot of things that I didn't know if you was on it or not. Turned out that you was right. What's going on? What do you see happening this year during Virgo season? By the way, Virgos are the absolute best people on earth. I just want to say that to everybody.
Spoken like a true Virgo.
Man, I'm just
But
messing with
look,
y'all.
I didn't make predictions. I was reading the culture. I was reading the stars, and the story is there. So
Okay.
when you're reading the stars, you know that when certain stellar events happen, based on which constellation it is, it take a certain amount of time for that energy to reach Earth. That's called turnaround time. It's the same day when you do a manifestation. From the time you put it in the universe to the time that it returned back to you is called your turnaround time. So based on what I'm seeing with the Schumann resonance, the solar flares, the stellar alignments, the full moons, the eclipses, and all of this is calibrated that something of a massive proportion is going to touch down around Virgo between the end of August, September, early part of October. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't select 9/11 as a date again for a major event. But I don't know if it's going to be used to fearmonger. In other words, it'd be a tragedy, or to rejoice. In other words, it'd be a celebration. But it's going to be something polarizing within that time frame based on those alignments. Those are predictions. I'm just reading what the energy that takes to get here, right? Then we have this giant unidentified body sitting right outside the Earth's atmosphere they don't want to talk about, right? That's also a huge clue as to the signs of the times. You're reading the signs, it's just like reading a book, but you have to train yourself how to read it. Some of us gets better at it over time, and some of us been knowing how to do it our whole life. But we didn't know what we was doing as children, but when we became adults, we started to understand it better. The women can tell you dates, but the men can't tell you the dates because they can't tune in that fine to give you the exact date of an event. The women mitochondrial open heart chakra in her uterus gives her like microscopic capabilities for reading the dates of the future in which a major event is going to take place, right? Some of us can read old prophecies, which is part of the plan. That's why they was calling them prophecies, because they prophets was about making profits. And as long as a profit generated a profit, then they begin to use them more and more to draw the plan out, because the more people focus on the manifestation of a prophecy, the more likely the prophecy is to materialize according to the laws of collective will, the mastermind group.
All right.
So,
You
yeah.
got.
So around that time, by the way, what we're seeing now, something major is about to shift. And I'm believing, based on what the conclusion of the continuity of government, that it got something to do with the tribes.
Mm, mm. Somebody said 2 eclipses in September, September 7th and September 21st.
See?
It's good to know. It's good to know. It's good to know. All right. Let's get fam. Let's get to some Q&A from y'all. Let's see what y'all popping. Y'all 4,300 deep in here tonight. I did, and by the way, y'all, Dr. B Most likely he's going to be on tomorrow. He was scheduled to be on today, but I want to talk about the whole Larry Hoover thing today. So I pushed it back. But tune in tomorrow. Dr. B should be here. Also, family, let me put myself on the camera real quick while I'm saying this. Yo, there is going to be a groundbreaking Patreon episode with Rod Hayes and Billy Carson. And I want the brothers to touch on the macabre, this thing we call them, or the Merkaba. And I know Billy talk about it, I know Rod talk about it, but if you're not on Patreon, this is going down next week. It's gonna be monumental, y'all. If you're not a Patreon, you're gonna want to get on Patreon, but it's gonna be Rod Hayes, Billy Carson next week. I gotta reach out to Billy too. I gotta call Billy. I ain't talked to Billy in a little while. By the way, Billy Carson gonna be at the Stone Mountain thing. So shout out to Billy. I gotta call him regardless anyway. So shout out to Billy. But next week, Patreon, Rod Hayes, Billy Carson is going down, family. Make sure you are a member and you're subscribed to watch that episode because it's gonna be absolutely historic, family.
Tell them again why we do Patreon, so because a lot of people be like,
yeah. You know, well, a lot of people be hating, so I'm not even addressing them. They just mad that they got to spend $2. But a lot of my videos with Rod, I'm gonna say I had videos with Rod. I had 3 videos with Rod that got taken down. I had about 4 videos from Dr. Phil Valentine. I had a video from RFG, the Chosen One. Those are the main people that my videos have been taken down. So sometimes when I get a little deep with this shit, I like to include them on certain conversations. And plus, I like to, sometimes I like to be off YouTube. Everything ain't meant for YouTube, y'all. And you end up appreciating it more when you're not on YouTube sometimes. So shout out to everybody who invest in themselves. But yeah, it's going down on Patreon. We're gonna talk about all the shit that's banned on YouTube. All the technology, because y'all know who used the Star David, and y'all know what the Star David looked like. So we're gonna get into them folks, them pretenders or wannabes. We can't talk about all of that on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be fire, y'all. It's gonna be fire. So shout out to King Simon. King Simon is in the chat sharing. Oh, you know what? Before we start the Q&A, because I seen King Simon sharing. Let me put up Rod Hayes' Cash App real quick, y'all, so we can support the brothers and sisters who come through and bless us. We got 4,200 people in here. I just posted Rod Hayes' Cash App. Make sure y'all show the brother some love. The brother's I've been seeing the brother a lot on YouTube. Your videos be popping up. I'll be like, God damn, Rod, all over the place. So the brother's been all over on your YouTube. But y'all know, let me a fun fact. Do y'all know who bought Rod Hayes on YouTube? Do y'all remember do y'all remember the first time Rod Hayes was on YouTube doing the show? He was with Blue Pill. He was on Brother Rich show. He was with Blue Pill, and I forgot the name. I think it was called 5-Dimensional Chess. I think that was the name of the show. Or 4D Chess. I forgot the name of the show. He was a 4D or 5D chess. But yeah, y'all, I remember I heard about Rod. People kept saying, yo, there's this brother on Facebook, yo, he's going off. I said, who y'all talking about? I'm like, let me see what this brother's about. I see the video. I said, oh, shit. I said, oh, I got to get him on the show. I don't remember how I reached out to the brother. Maybe it was on Instagram or something. But I finally got through to the brother. And yeah, we started the show. I think this was 2021. I think it was 2021 was our first show. And either 2021 or 2022. And we've been going on since then. Every show has been absolutely amazing. And we got that Virgo Scorpio connection. I got a lot of Scorpios. I got red and blue. My daughter's a Scorpio. But a lot of Scorpios in my life. So shout out all the Scorpios in my life.
That's natural for a Virgo, because Scorpios used to be one sign, Virgo, Scorpio.
Yeah, you always
and
say
Scorpio was the protector of the Virgo. So energetically, Scorpions are drawn to protect Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm,
the inequity put between the man and the woman gave us the rise to the sign Libra, the
mm,
the off balance scales, which
mm,
ties back into that Genesis. I put enmity between her seed and thy seed,
mm, mm,
right? So it's that's when also coincide with the arrival of the moon.
mm, mm. Deep,
Yeah.
deep.
So yeah. So Virgo, Scorpio, just they naturally protective of the Virgo.
Let's get into some Q&A from the family. Somebody said he was on by himself. No, he was with Blue Pill. He was with Blue Pill. The first
Yeah.
show
You
on
remember how that conversation went when you asked me? I was like, "Can Blue Pill come on with me?"
yeah, you was a little, you was a little shy. Rob was a little
No,
shy.
he had threw the alley oop, and I wanted him to, get the same amount of recognition for plugging me in with you, right? Because he was the one saying, "Hey, man." It was a couple people because you had mentioned it on one of your shows, and they were sending me a clip.
Okay.
So I had been watching Red and Blue on Instagram, and
Mm-hmm.
then Blue reached out to me, said, "Hey, man, brother Rich, want to know if you do a show?" And I was like, "Yeah, hook us up." And then so when naturally wanting to give back, I wanted him to be on there with me because I thought he was just as important of getting me on the show as I was on being there.
Shout out to Blue Pill. I'm gonna be doing a show with him and Red soon. Shout out to Blue Pill and Red Pill and KT, the whole family. Somebody said, ask Rod, is these Africans here for good things or bad, expressing their dislike for us? You know, Rod, a lot of people look at when you talk about the whole we're not from Africa, or listen, there's a whole group of people saying it from different angles. You got Chief Top Cats, you got Dan Calloway, you got Tariq Nasheed out there with the FBA. A lot of people consider what y'all doing is saying they consider that y'all separating yourselves from Africa, and they consider that to be divisive. So what are your thoughts on that? And also this brother's question about Africans being here, is that good or bad, my brother?
I'm the leader of the Ibrahim Traore fan club. So but I'm not from over there. But we got to look at it like this, man. The reason why they want us to say we came from Africa, so we have no claim to the land. The land right is superior to the subject matter. The territorial jurisdiction has a superior jurisdiction to subject matter jurisdiction. If you have a right to govern the land and somebody else governing it on your behalf, and you don't think you're supposed to be governing, you're not going to do anything to try to govern it. When we telling people we not from Africa because they need to know these tribes been here just as long as them tribes in Africa. As a matter of fact, when you talk about West Coast Africa, I tell people all the time, the royal families of the Americas have been marrying the royal families of Africa up and down the Eastern Shoreboard for thousands of years for what they call blood diversity, genetic diversity, so that to prevent birth defects, unlike the Habsburgs who kept intermarrying within the family, and they begin to make the birth defects more pronounced, right? So we was marrying on the West Coast royal families from Asia. And this is why a lot of very dark natives of this land have that hollow hair, not straight hair, hollow hair. It's because it's an Asian trait, but we have been marrying them for so long, the dark skin begin to overtake the lighter skin. And so now they dark skin with the hollow hair. It's, it's because we have the confidence and the pride in who we are. We don't have to take on anybody else's identity in order to recognize who we are. We only need to know the self. Once you know yourself, once you know your enemy, victory is assured. It's right in the art of war. If you don't know who your enemy is and you don't know who you are, then you don't know how to reclaim what's rightfully yours versus surrendering what's yours, begging for reparations as a replacement for your birthright. That's like you giving me $5 to sell you my parents' house because they passed away. That don't even make sense to me, right? I at least if I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna get fair market value for it. I'm not gonna forego my hereditary rights to my parents' house just because you moved in there while wasn't nobody there and said it was your house, and but you would keep it if I let you give me $5. It don't work like that. The tribes over here we got every texture of hair, every skin shade, always have. Before we were shades of wheat, we were shades of blue and green. That's because we had a different component. That was a whole different earth cycle. In the old earth cycle, you had literally blue and green people. The blue pigment was recovered in the Appalachian Mountains to stop the children of Scotta or Scotia from being Scotta. The children of Scotta, those redhead gingers, from being whooped to death by the sun. So Big Mama was giving them what's called silver water. And the silver water was turning their skin blue, but it was allowing them to go through a photosynthesis like plants. That melanin does something different, but it was able to keep them from being burned up by the sun. And now that we shades of wheat, they the color of the moon. So we call them moon children. But the real moon children is what we call albinos. And they have special gifts, psychic gifts that they rarely tap into because they too busy fighting the stereotypes of them being albino. All of that was part of the system of racism that was given to us as a caste system. And that caste system was designed to oppress the ones that look like us and to tell people that we just some human waste product that was shipped over on a ship. The Africans didn't want us, so they gave us to the Europeans who brought us over here. That's just nothing could be further from the truth. Everything that we already did over here, we still do. When we go on to club and we see us doing them line dances, that's what we was doing before the settlers came, right? When we having dance offs out in the bay and they getting hyphy with it, that's old culture. That's the same as breakdancing culture, but it's the West Coast version, right? Breakdancing culture is out of New York from them tribes and how they express themselves in song and dance. Then you got other local dances, like in Chicago, you got the Hoover Stomp, and you got ballroom and what they call it stepping. Stepping is slightly different than ballroom, but it's similar. Then you got in New Orleans, they jigging, they gigging in the South. All this stuff is stuff we already did that's written about in the historical description of the natives of the land. But we not reading the culture, matching it with the history in order to determine if we in fact are those people in the history books that they whitewashed. We are. We just don't accept it because we spent so many years trying to develop a confraternity with Africans that some people took the confraternity concept to mean that we all be supposed to be in Africa. If we was all supposed to be in Africa, most of us would have been born over there. We native to here. We organic to these lands. I'm Mississippi Clay Dirt walking. I know where my ancestry traced back to.
Yeah, man. Definitely. You know what? You know what's interesting. Before I get to the next question, I asked you about Chicago a little earlier, and the importance of that area, that geographical location. And you talked about line dancing. The greatest R&B singer of all time is from Chicago. Now he may be. I don't know what he's doing, what he did in his private life, but in terms of a catalog, family, there's nobody has been like R. Kelly. R. Kelly got the illest R&B catalog of all time, and we don't get that music no more, which makes me appreciate his music even more. Now, I'm not talking about what he done in his personal life. I don't know. I seen, I remember the video back in the day. But what I'm talking about is the music. I played The World's Greatest at my mother's funeral. Yeah, that was one of her favorite songs. I played The World's Greatest at my mother's funeral, and the brother was gifted. So shout out to Chicago and all the entities and ancestors who incarnated in this realm to Chicago. Big shout out to y'all. One last question, Rod, about the whole Africa thing. Um, Gay Gabsy sent a super chat. She says, "What is the real reason the big promotion for living abroad?" Rod, I know it's a lot of people are talking about moving to Ghana. A lot of people are talking about getting land in Africa. I see Ernie and Leisure talk about that a lot, as well as other platforms saying we got to go back over there to Africa and get land. That's the next. That's where it's going to be at in the future. What's your thoughts on this big promotion of going to Africa to live and to get land, my brother?
Well, anybody that feel like they from Africa, Africa is on the rise fighting for their freedom. If you over here and you feel like you need to be over there helping them fight for their freedom, you need to be going over there as soon as possible. Don't wait till they win and then try to go over there, because then they're gonna treat you like spit on the bottom of a shoe, right? If you want them to win and you believe that you from Africa, I firmly believe you should go so y'all can get out of our way so we can fight for what's ours over here. We don't have a problem with the people of Africa because they was done the same way we was done. And in some cases, maybe even worse. But then when you look at our history, we was done pretty bad. But the thing being is, if they can get as many of us off the land as possible, then they can prevent the rightful heirs from joining forces just to tell them it's time for you imposters to go. This is why they want to get you to leave. They want you to leave because you at home. You ain't gonna know you at home if you don't leave. But as soon as you leave, you're gonna be like, damn, this ain't home. I was at home. Right? Home got a specific and distinct feeling. Right? When I look out, when I look at pictures, aerial pictures of Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, that look like home to me. When I look at aerial pictures of Botswana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, Ivory Coast, that don't look like home to me. That it doesn't feel like I need to get there because that's home. I don't have that feeling. I have that feeling about this land that I need to do whatever I can to wake these people up so we can get the imposters out. We already know who we are, that we have a right. The ones of us that's supposed to find it out. We just got to get the grassroots to understand what is taking place, and that's the hard part. Because the grassroots, that's the Valley of Dry Bones. All of them is go along to get along because they believe in the uniform system. And as long as these people wearing uniforms, they look legitimate to them, they won't resist. Stockholm syndrome. That's why they want you off the land so you won't claim your birthright.
Okay. Let's get to the next question. What's going on in Memphis with the golden blast seen on radar? See, I don't know anything about this. Thanks for bringing it up. A task force being deployed there, and Elon saying the Messiah will come from Memphis. Wow, I don't know nothing about this, Rob. What's going on with this question?
That's my first time hearing it too. I'm gonna have to look into it. Right. I don't know what the golden blast was seen on the radar. I didn't get that story. So if you on my social media, can you send me a link on the Sick Ape on Instagram or Rod Hayes on Facebook so I can look into it, because I don't know what they're talking about.
They said, what's Unc take on this golden dome Trump talking about?
This is the conclusion of something Ronald Reagan started called Operation Star Wars back in the 80s. Most of us don't know about it, but he did a whole speech. I think he was in front of the UN or some foreign people, but he was talking about Operation Star Wars, and that if we was to have a threat from outside of Earth, that it would automatically make us forget our differences. Well, the Golden Dome is the final phase, because the first phase was to put satellite lasers up, and the final phase is to put what they call a force field dome up. But it's not a physical force field. What it is it's a missile defense system, and it's a series of lasers that can shoot missiles down in the air before they land on the ground and cause destruction. So instead of you having a whole missile blow up a city, you had a debris of the missile, and it's raining metal now.
Okay, okay. Are all the old slave plantations catching on fire being done by the government?
I don't know if all of them is, but I believe that the first one, I think it was, they call it the Annabelle burn. I think that one was a controlled burn because when I was looking at it before they waited till the house was damn near burnt down before they started trying to put it out. That looked like a controlled burn. That mean that they was in on it. Because
Why
the
would they
fire
want to burn it
department
down?
come in immediately tearing up stuff to put a fire out.
Why would they want to burn it down, Rod?
Symbolism, the symbol of the fall of the slave system, right? The big house was they took them from Big Mama and repurposed them as a headquarters of a family farm that became a plantation.
Hmm. Somebody said, "Is the story of about the Annabelle doll real?"
That doll, I don't know where it was created, but it's tied to some princess out of New Orleans who was a conjure queen. She was a child that put a conjure on the Annabelle doll.
Right, right.
Excuse me.
Take your time. Take your time, my brother. Take your time.
When you see the name Annabelle,
Mhm.
Anna, Annie, Annie Mae, in the South, they are a princess heir, a heritable princess heir. When they say Belle or Bella, it's telling you that she's supposed to hear it at an early age as a young woman, 12, 14, right around puberty, she becomes actionable on her, right? So they call her Annabelle. The Amos and Andy doll was a old New Orleans cultural phenomenon, just like they was giving out Teddy Ruxpin in the early 90s
I
or
remember
late
that.
80s. Right.
Right.
They used to have doll makers.
Mm-hmm.
Doll makers made everything from children's play dolls for girls and all the way to voodoo dolls for the priesthood, because they were just professional doll makers. And the Raggedy Ann doll was created based off the legend of the Annabelle doll. In the masculine counterpart, because they can't let no woman under patriarchy have power without a male counterpart that's supposed to be equally as powerful. So they created Andy.
Mm. All right, let's get to this next question, Ross. Somebody wants to know what's the significance of the Pope being born in Chicago? So much Chicago talk.
Well, he's born based on his speech. He's given that lingo like he gonna get a great mother back her stuff that they stole. He just he did the Mother's Day speech, and it was heavily coded. And he did another speech about 4 to 5 days later that was heavily coded. Right, which takes us to King Charles. Yesterday, when they was announcing Larry Hoover commutation, they was also King Charles was in Canada begging for mercy because they realized that this is tribal land. It's all tribal land, right? So now you got, and then it was on Betty Shabazz' birthday. Oh, Black Betty, Bama Lamb. Oh, Black Betty, Bama Lamb. Black Betty had a child, Bama Lamb, and that child went wild. There's a codes in them songs, and it's tied to all of the stuff we seen going on, right? So on Betty Shabazz' birthday, they commute Larry Hoover's sentence. King Charles declared that this is Algonquin and another tribe we mentioned land, and then start begging for mercy, and then they asking for what they call truth and reconciliation. And most of us don't remember when South Africa was reclaimed by the South Africans and they was ousting the Boers for power. The first thing they did was came up with something called the Truth Commission. You remember that, Rich?
Yes.
And it was through the Truth Commission that they was able to get Mandela out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then he became the president of South Africa, unless you under the Mandela effect and he died in prison.
Mm. Right. So, all right. You talk a lot about. Quick question before we get back to the question. Quick question for me. You talk a lot about the codes in the music, and you always mention Big Mama. I want to ask you about our greatest entertainer of all time, Michael Jackson. What the hell? Because you be talking about these codes, and you be like, "That's a flip on this, or that's that." You remind me of Bobby Hemming in the sense. You be saying some shit. We be like, what the hell is Bobby talking about? We be like, what the hell? Rob be like, nah, because that's a flip on this and that. Rob, what the hell does Mama say, Mama Sa, Maku Sa mean? Michael Jackson. Now, I don't know if I said it right. What is that a code for, brother? MMM. Mama say, Mama Sa, Maku Sa.
That's not what he's saying though.
What
He's saying is all I'm saying is I'm not gonna stop.
You know, I thought they told me that's what he was saying. Mama said, Mama Sa. So that's not what he's saying.
What the lyrics are?
That's that. That's that Mandela effect. In my mind, somebody told me years ago.
It sounds like that's exactly what he's saying.
That's that Mandela effect. Now, Ross say no, he not. See, I'm getting hit with the parallel that reality shit in that timeline, yo.
If you play a song right now, it still sounds exactly like he's saying, Mama say, Mama sa, I'm not gonna stop. But he's actually saying is all I'm gonna say is I'm not gonna stop.
Damn, I got now.
But that in okay, so now you brought up the codes in the music, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's take what we heard as a Freudian slip. A Freudian slip is something that you didn't intend to say, but it slipped out when you was trying to say something else.
Right.
But it's the truth.
Right.
All right. Now, Mama say, that's what Mama said. Mama Sa Mama is a birth priestess. Mama, my mama, Kosa, cosign.
Cosign.
Right. So when we take it for the syllables and the homonym as a Freudian slip, he's saying my mama is saying, Mama say, Mama Sa. My mama is the priestess, the Sa priestess, Mumaku Sa. Right. My mama, right, gonna say or gonna solve, or you can your mind will naturally put a suffix on a word if you recognize the sound pitch of the first part of the word. You can also you can put the first and last letter of a word and scramble the letters in the middle, but your mind gonna tell you the exact word that they talking about.
Yo, this whole time, y'all, I grew up people telling me about Mama say, Mama Sa. I'm just like, yo, what does that mean? Yo, I swear I
thought he was singing the African jingle for years.
For real. Wow, man, what a beautiful people. What a beautiful people. Oh man, I love this information. Somebody said this Negro encyclopedia.
You know, when I when I was locked up, they used to call me Dr. Rod to Walking University.
Oh man.
So I used to tell people that's who I was when I first came home.
Somebody said I am today.
I got so used to hearing it.
Somebody said I am today years old when I realized this. Yeah, me too, man. Yeah. Somebody said I heard what you heard too, Rich. I ain't the only one. Got me out here looking crazy.
I told you, I heard it too. Had I not went, it was I seen a clip.
Yeah.
And they was talking about that. And then they showed the lyrics. That's the only reason why I know he's saying all I'm saying is I'm not gonna stop.
I'm saying All right, let's get to I don't want to keep right on here too long tonight, family. We still got 4,600 people in the chat. Let's get to give me a couple of more questions. We're gonna do about two, three more. Then we're gonna get out of here, family. What a night, what a beautiful night. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. But give me a couple of more. Let me see.
And you want to hear something funny?
Yeah, what's up?
My father used to try to get me to be a motivational speaker, right?
Right.
I used to be like, Pop, I am not the one to motivate nobody. My mama used to try to get me to be a preacher. I was like, Mom, I can't stand up in front of them people and tell them lies with a straight face.
Wow.
I'd be like Chuck Missler. That's a contrivance. You know, anybody that want to know how much stuff in the Bible is made up, watch Chuck Missler. He's an eschatologist. They study the history of the Bible and the scriptures and all that. But he'd be telling you, like it's a couple of verses in the Bible that they actually just put them in there on translation that's not part of the original canon. But people just took the verse to be gospel because it's in the book. Chuck be like, yeah, that's a contrivance. Like they made it up. It's not in the original text.
Wow. Wow.
I was like, Mom, stop listening to Jimmy Swagger. Listen to Chuck Missler. Cause he gonna tell you. Jimmy gonna boss it up for that dollar.
Right,
but Chuck gonna tell you. Chuck Missler gonna tell you.
I seen the question. All right, let me just ask this because I'm just making sure. All right, I don't want to take too much longer. Damn, where did it go? I just had the question, y'all. I just had a question. I thought I saved it. Somebody said, when is Brother Rich going to start his own tribal community? Never. I don't know about that, y'all. I ain't trying to. Hey, man, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
You already have a tribal community, Rich.
Yeah.
Your tribe is Black Magic 363. The chief is Rich.
Indeed.
Right? And the ones who support you, that's your clan.
Indeed. Yeah, that's right.
The ones that come on here to try to tear you down, them your ops.
Those the ops, huh? Those are the ops.
Yeah, they the ones that's trying to stop you from building the clan and teaching, because your tribe don't have to all be on the same land. For people to understand. Your tribe can be scattered. They just got to know that if the chief get a call, where they need to go to reconstitute in order to show a force.
Right.
Right. So we remind all of the tribes who they are and respect their chief. And then their chief will allow them to support you on your recovery mission. Right? The chief not going to get in the way of what we call a righteous endeavor. The chief only going to get in the way if he see you trying to lead. Like, for instance, because GDs wear blue. And I go to California and mislead all of the Crips because I wear blue. And I know a whole bunch of stuff. So I can convince them that I'm smart. I ain't that damn smart. But I can convince them that I'm smart because I know a bunch of stuff. And then I start misleading them. Man, Big Tookie be to send some gorillas to my door from his sleep. He won't even have to be there. I'll look outside, them two big dudes that be with Easy, the Twin Towers. It'd be 20 of them in front of my door. Hey, we got to have a conversation, my brother. You out here misleading Crips. Right? It would have been the same thing if I dressed and flamed up in red and went out there to mislead the Bloods. They gonna send somebody. When the word because the word travel in the hood on the gossip channel faster than the 7 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, or the 5 o'clock news. When you land in LA, every OG of any value know you just landed.
Ain't that son?
You can't hide.
Damn.
Now, if you are a civilian, what they
Mhm.
call a regular person, you don't have to check in,
Right.
right? Because you ain't worried about nothing, and you ain't gonna be doing no walking through the hood trying to see how to solve their problems for them like another chief would do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So first we try to figure out how to solve the problems at home, then we go look at other people's community and see if the problem is the same and if the solution is the same.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to enough communities, then you sit back and you put all of it together. So what am I looking at here? How do we fix this?
Right. 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 So somebody said, please have the sky lift available at Stone Mountain for those who cannot hike up the mountain, please. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not responsible for that, Deborah. I can't guarantee that. We are gonna be there. We're meeting at the mountain at 5:44 in the morning because we want to make it up there when the sun is coming up. It's an incredible feeling, and I can't guarantee it's gonna be working at that time. I'm sure it'll be working by the time we leave, but yeah, I can't guarantee that. So I don't want y'all to come there and thinking the sky lift. Well, we're gonna be hiking, but I'm not responsible for the sky lift, and I can't guarantee that. So I just want to let you know that ahead of time. All right. Next question. Somebody said, "What does it mean when you don't dream, Rod?" This person obviously doesn't dream, or somebody they know.
You dream, you just might not dream visually. You may dream just by kinesthetics, feeling alone. It depends on your learning style. Some people dream in only audio, but when they wake up, they can't remember all that stuff that was said because it was too much information. The subconscious got it. The conscious mind couldn't carry it over. So don't think you don't dream. Most people dream. Like 99.9% people dream. And they just dream other than visual and spatial dreams. You can dream just by going through a range of emotions during REM sleep. You still dreaming, unless you don't never hit REM sleep.
All right. Next question. What is the best way to spiritually prepare for this new season?
The best thing to do, cleanse your body, cleanse your mind. By cleansing your body, cleansing your mind, that's how you clean your spirit. Yeah. Get the heavy metals out, clean your filters, because your filters is what get the toxins out. Your liver is a filter, your kidneys a filter, mullein tea for your lungs, because your lungs is a filter. Um, then you have your nerve endings is affected by heavy metals. That's not part of the platinum group. You ain't never heard of nobody having gold poisoning, but you sure as hell heard of people having lead poisoning.
Yeah, you know what makes you dream like a motherfucker too, Rod? When you wear that nicotine patch, man. You be lucid. Oh my god, family. I don't want to recommend
That's
because
because
you
nicotine is a neurostimulant. You
yeah.
got nicotine receptors in the back of your brain.
Hmm.
And matter of fact, they was telling people that some of those vaccines don't work if you smoke. That's because they wanted you to stop smoking because the one that was made out of snake venom attacks the nicotine receptors. But if you smoke, the nicotine receptor being occupied, it blocks out the venom.
Hmm. Okay. All right, this is gonna be the last question, y'all. I hope. Uh some years back on Rod's viral Facebook video, he mentioned aliens contacted him and wanted to see Larry freed. Is that still at play? Wow.
Yep. And the thing is, I had to do this campaign on social media in order to make sure that all of this information is available to the public. Some of the stuff sound far fetched and science fiction, but I don't like it when they contact me. They 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 contact you using different mediums of contact. Sometimes they telepathically talk to you, but I figured out how to block their ass out telepathically. So then they use the weather patterns just like HARP. They hijack the weather, or they'll cause an earthquake that'll have a signature number on it, or it'd be a hurricane or tsunami and it has significant numbers or a name in the case of a hurricane or a cyclone. Like when I first started, because I got a message from Marcus Garvey in Australia with Cyclone Marcus was 7 on the Richter scale. I'm like, why the fuck is they calling me? They told me I ain't had no skills. But that trajectory and path was a code. All of the numbers in the vitals of the cyclone was translatable to tell me information. And then I went and looked at the star maps to see the alignment of the stars to determine if it was actually a communication for me. And then my heart dropped in my stomach. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Damn. Yeah. Wow. Somebody said, I need your email, Rich, please. It's richandmerit@yahoo.com. RICHINMERIT@yahoo.com. I share it on here all the time.
I like that. Rich and merit. Rich and merit. That's rich in substance.
Merit's my last name. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the way you wrote it on your email,
yeah.
rich in substance.
No, definitely. Shout out to my family, my family, the Merits, and where I come from, the Swifts. Somebody mentioned, because I talked about South, I told y'all my folks, I traced my folks back to South Carolina about the 1800s, I think, 1800s, something like that. My folks at that time were known as the Myers. No, it was the something with a G. It was the Myers. Right before the Myers, it was, I forget exactly what it was. Oh man, I gotta look it up. The Grimes, yeah. The Grimes is as far back as I got. Yeah, the Grimes is as far back as I got. So I'm trying to get further back from that, but I got as far as the Grimes. So shout out to the Grimes, the Merits, the Myers, the Swifts, my whole family tree. Shout out to all of y'all. That's how I got here, y'all. But listen, I think that might be it. Is King Simon still in the chat sharing Rod's email? Let me see if the brother King Simon is still. Yeah, King Simon. Huh?
I don't use email.
Oh, not your email. My fault. I meant your Instagram and your Cash App and your Facebook. So shout out to King Simon. All right, that brother's always in the chat holding it down. Like I said, Dr. B should be on the Mall family. Make sure you tune in for that. With that being said, what would you like to say? Somebody said Grimes is Irish roots. Yeah, I gotta look into that. That's why I want to look into it. That's why I want to look into it. I definitely want to look into it. What you think about that, Rod?
Know that a lot of the Irish look like us too.
Yeah.
But we don't. You remember the Irish is called white Negroes.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to roots, it's an Irishman sitting there with the Frenchman and the Englishman, and they talk about him like a dog. You know, told him he wasn't no better than their slaves.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out, y'all. I'm gonna figure it out. And I'm gonna go back, and I want to go back as far as I can. Let's see. Can you use AI to trace? Somebody said, can you use AI to trace back your bloodline? What you think about that, Rod? Using AI to trace back your bloodline?
It's better than that fake ass DNA that's for entertainment purposes only. But if you know how to bypass the initial program of AI is ancestral intelligence.
Yeah.
You can if you learn how to properly communicate with AI. Look, my chief of staff, Phoenix Rising, sent me what she asked AI about me. Blew my mind.
Oh, what is that? Why you ain't telling? Come on, man. How you not mention that, Rod? Come on, let me hear this. Let me hear this shit here.
Let me see if I can find
Let me
find my
hear this.
notebook.
What y'all talking about in the chat while Rod look for that? What are y'all talking about in the chat? Somebody said Rich is Celtic. Hey man, I'm gonna find out, y'all. I'm gonna find out real soon. I'm gonna find out real soon. My mom's family, they the light skin side. My pop's side is the dark skin side. My
Man,
mom,
too.
yeah, my mom's side, they the real light skin side. Like when if I don't know if y'all see my daughter, she look like my mom. She come from like she's like look like my mom's side or whatever. My pops was real dark skin. That's what made my complexion or whatever. You know.
Trying to find my reader so I can read it.
You take your time, my brother. Dre, shout out to Dre. Y'all know Dre. Dre be on the show a lot. Rich, I have to get you on my podcast next month. Definitely. You text me a couple of weeks ago, Dre. So I got your number. Just let me know. Dre, are you coming to Stone Mountain, by the way? Are you gonna be on Stone? Are you gonna be on Stone Mountain? But regardless, hit me up. Let me know. I want to be on your show, and I also want to be on the brother David show. I want to show love to y'all channel. I want to do a show with you, David, the sister New Diamonds, and maybe and Alien Black Girl. I want to do a show with all four of y'all. Show the people, the people from my channel, give y'all some shine so the people can support y'all. So shout out. Okay, you'll be in Columbia. Where you be? You be in Columbia, South Carolina, or the country? Columbia. Dre, you a passport, bro? Yeah, I see this video of the passport, bro, the other day. That shit was funny. They say, yo, they was in Cartagena. I think that's in Colombia. It was like the airport was deep with black dudes. Them niggas was going over there to get son. Yo, Dre, where you going to the country, Colombia? You a passport, bro? The country? Oh, Dre going to Colombia. Yo, Dre, I didn't know you was a passport, bro. Oh, shit. Man, you going, oh, shit, I ain't know, man. I know what you going over there for, bro. But he said, no. All right, Dre said, nah. All right, you ain't a passport, bro. Right. But yo, I seen a video, man, funny, about the black dudes that be going over there to Colombia, man. I was like, yo, dudes ain't playing. They be going deep over there to Colombia, man. Deep, man. Oh, you going to Bogota? All right. All right.
I don't have the app on here to read it, Rich.
Oh, you ain't got it? Okay, it's all good. It's all good.
We'll
Well,
do it
okay.
another time.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do one last question then. Since Rod couldn't get that, let's get that one last question. Yeah, this is a good show, y'all. I'm real good show. Oh, okay, New Diamonds. New Diamonds is gonna be at Stone. Okay, that's what's up, New Diamonds. Okay, I'm gonna see you there, Stone Mountain, New Diamonds. That is great. All the way from California. All right. I'm gonna have the official flyer rolling out soon too, y'all. So stay tuned for that. Let me see. I want to get one last question in. Somebody said, not a passport, bro, but I'm in Thailand. Was on the first Stone Mountain. You know, they said the white passport bros go to Thailand. They said that's what the white ones go to Thailand, the black ones go to Colombia. Yo, TikTok be saying some shit, man. Oh, TikTok is funny as shit. That's what they
Hey,
said
but
on
look, it makes sense though because the ones that go to Columbia, they still keeping it in the bloodlines.
Hey, shit. Oh man, I gotta interview one of your passport bros one day, man. Somebody said, do you have any events coming back in ATL like you did in February? I might do something that weekend, the Stone Mountain weekend. I might do something later on in the evening that day. I'm not sure, but none else that I could think of. But I might throw something, real quick together. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, let's get to this last question, super chat. How did you do your memory exercises, Chief? I remember you saying that in one of your videos. We're ending on that, Rod. Yeah, memory
I
exercise.
had I had more than one exercise, but the most difficult one was to walk into a room,
Mm-hmm.
then don't look at nothing specific, but try to remember as many items in the room and their placement as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's called developing spatial recognition memory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if it like when I go in there, if it was a piece of paper with another piece of paper slightly from under it, did I notice it? Did I see it? So it's training the memory. Then memory and recall is the childhood game called concentration. You flip the cards, try to remember what a card was by the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I began to do it, but I wasn't using cards. I was using like I use a book.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll be like, do I remember what page 7 say? And then I try to go back in my mind and pull the information forward from page 7. Then I go back to the book and see if I was right. And
Mm-hmm.
when I started out, it was kind of rough. I remember like a couple of words in the line. Then next thing you know, I was able to tell people what page to look on certain books in order to find the information while we was in mid conversation. It just come out naturally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Last question, Rod. Rod, I swear this is the last one. What Tamiko wants to know, what do birthmarks mean, Rod?
For some tribes, it don't mean anything, but for other tribes, it identifies heirs. It tell you what ancestor you was. It got a whole lot of significance to it. Heritable birthrights, like I think in the Tongan Islands, if you have a certain birthmark on your leg, you the heir,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it normally jump father to the daughter, daughter to son.
Mm.
Yeah, birthmarks mean different things to different cultural practices. Some people haven't incorporated because they might be more into the totem magic than they is with reading the birthmarks.
Mm-hmm.
But you got different people that hold and revere birthmarks and it's moles too. Moles, freckle patches, right? You used to have people that could read the freckle patches and know if you was a truthful person or a pathological liar.
Mm. Man. All right, all right. With that being said, man, I'm Rod. I want to thank you once again for coming on the platform, coming on the show. I look forward to doing this Patreon next week with you and the brother Billy Carson on this Merkaba, this vehicle that we use to travel to different dimensions. Um, yeah, anything you want to tell the people before you get out of here, my brother?
Yeah. Cash App been giving me a problem. Some of my don't people send me donations, they've been blocking it. So sometimes you might have to wait a day or two to send it if it rejects you. But
You
I
got
tried to update my phone, so see if that helps.
they want you to make your Cash App account a business account. That's what it is. They did that to everybody,
They already made me do that like 6 months ago.
and they still giving you problems.
It
Damn.
just started yesterday.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Um, you got Zelle?
That's all I used because I wasn't doing it for money.
Zelle will be
Right.
good to get because the people definitely they're gonna want to look out. Zelle will be
I was thinking about getting Chang.
I haven't used that one yet. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I know some people they had it. It's just like Cash App.
Okay, okay.
It's
Yeah, I'm
like
looking
Cash
at
App.
that. Yeah, I'm looking at to that. Then I'm looking at Chime. All right, man. With that being said, Rob, man. So I'm gonna talk to you soon, my brother. Family. Thank you to everybody. Somebody keep mentioning cigars. I promise y'all, real soon I'm gonna give you a little update on cigars. I know everybody's been asking about it, and they're like, Rich, come on, what's going on? I'm gonna give you a little update real soon on that. So just
I gotta send you my address for man.
yeah, when I talk to you on the phone next time, because you know who I gotta send Loaded Lux. He's waiting on one that I forgot to send. So I gotta send Lux
It's
one.
the battle rapper.
Yeah, the battle rapper. Yeah, I gotta. He gonna be at Stone Mountain too. Lux gonna be there too. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm almost finished. Okay, all right, I'm almost done. That's my son. Okay, all right, son. That's my little boy right there. Yeah, so I gotta send Lux. I don't know if Lux listening. Lux, I'm gonna send yours out by Saturday. So when I send Lux joint out, I'm gonna send you yours as well. But yeah, every family, I'm gonna put it back on. It's gonna be available again next week, family. I'm gonna be using PayPal exclusively because I ain't fucking with Cash App either. So I'm gonna be using PayPal. If you could donate through PayPal, not the Rich and Mary 7. It's gonna be another PayPal, and I'll give y'all that next week. So stay tuned for that. And I'm gonna have a bunch on Stone Mountain. So if you're on Stone Mountain and you want to donate, I'm gonna have a bunch. I'm gonna have a bunch. As a matter of fact, hold up. Right, hold up. I gotta show you something. Hold up. I don't think I showed Rod yet, man. Rich me. I don't want y'all to think I got him here for now. I got the humidor back there. I got the pack to keep it fresh right here. So this keeps it fresh. But 100% tobacco. I might just bring this whole case to Stone Mountain, and but I'm gonna have them, family. I'm making an offering to the gods. They remember me, motherfucker. What? You know what Panic used to say? Motherfucker. Panic used to say it like that. Panic used to say, motherfucker. Yo, rest in power to Panic. That was a funny dude, man. That was a funny dude. Panic was funny. But I'm having a good time. But listen, let me get out of here. Rod, I'm going to talk to you either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, my brother. Probably going to reach out to you tomorrow. Family, I will see you tomorrow night with Dr. B. Shout out to everybody. Have a good night. Rod, I'm going to talk to you tomorrow, my brother.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace, family.
All right. Peace to the brother Rod Hayes. Family, I will see you tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Dr. B serious. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Brother Rich.